The theory is Bran is the Night King, and with sufficient evidence, we should be able to prove that he is indeed the Night King. However, there is still a chance we could be wrong. There are many theories that suggest Bran is the Night King. However, there is more than just simple magic or time travel that makes Bran the Night King. Bran is unique in the world of Game of Thrones. He is unlike any other characters, and he yields powers that are a close match to the Night King's. Let's start off with what we know as fact. Bran can travel through time, but is unable to alter the past, so says the Three-Eyed Raven. Bran influenced the present by warging into Hodor. As he was in a vision, he said, "Hold the door." This is a confusing matter to discuss, but since we've met Hodor, he has always been Hodor. Now the question comes to mind, how was he made Hodor from who he previously was if Bran had not gone back in time yet? This proves what we think is linear is not, and Bran has actually lived several times. Each time he travels, he ensures the present is intact and that history repeats itself for the sake of his own birth. Another character that went crazy, like Hodor, is Aerys II, the Mad King. Bran attempted to warn the Mad King and somehow triggered an episode similar to Hodor's, but drove him insanely mad instead. I believe we will see this next season when the White Walkers march on the wall, possibly Winterfell after. Then he will yell to the others, "Burn them all." Since early on in the series, the Three-Eyed Raven had always followed Bran around, even before his accident. We don't know the Three-Eyed Raven's true identity. He could have very well been a version of Bran himself, but apparently in some other theories, the Night King killed the Three-Eyed Raven, also the Children of the Forest, for hiding what he was truly facing. They kept the truth from Bran. There is a historical character known as Bran the Builder who has been mentioned on many occasions in the story of Game of Thrones. But I believe Bran traveled far back and somehow lived out the life or influenced Bran the Builder, constructing the wall in an attempt to keep the White Walkers out from marching south of the wall. However, he had still failed and ended up being forced to take another trip into the past once he's reborn. Bran the Builder created the saying, "There must always be a Stark in Winterfell." The reason for this saying was to ensure his birth would happen, like I said before. At this point, he doesn't just work into people so they do his bidding. He may live out their life. People who oppose this theory really need to ask themselves, how did Hodor become himself if Bran hadn't met the Three-Eyed Raven yet? Although we've not witnessed Bran driving Aerys completely mad, there's just no way he didn't because of everything going on with the White Walkers. It points to Bran driving him mad. How did he do it without going into the past yet? The answer is rather complicated but simple. He's basically looping himself through time, becoming someone else in the past, but still becomes our Brandon, almost like reincarnation. What this means is the ink is dry. His actions affect the future to the point that it's permanent. Season 6 promo Bran says they have no idea what's going to happen. Well, he knows now. This season he has become more powerful and spends a lot of his time in visions. In this last episode, Jon and crew were baited by the Night King. He knew when and where the team would be to push them onto the lake. Jon himself said it was a trap. So let's recap on a few things before we start moving forward to make sure everyone understands the concept of this theory and what's going on. Let's skip to the events preceding to Bran's ability to have green sight and warg. Bran undoubtedly caused Hodor to become mentally incapable of making his own decisions for himself. Since Bran has known Hodor, he has been Hodor. He has not gone into the past yet. What are the other possibilities if he has yet to time travel? If we follow up with logic, there are only limited possibilities, and this entire story becomes flawed. What is reasonable and simple enough for Game of Thrones to explain with the time we have left? Bran is looping himself in time, altering small events and staying within the limits to ensure his rebirth. Why did he draw Bran to the cave to become the Three-Eyed Raven? Why is it specifically Bran, and why could Jojen not become the three-eyed raven himself? Because it's specifically tuned for Bran. It's his fate to become the three-eyed raven, because it's only him who can alter the events of the past. The three-eyed raven was specifically tasked with ensuring that Bran made it to the cave. The children of the Forest protected and guarded the three-eyed raven for centuries to ensure the old man could reach Bran. The three-eyed raven knew the full story. The children of the Forest knew Bran would once again try to alter the past. How did the children of the Forest know it was Bran? It started off with Bran becoming Bran the Builder. It was his second to last trip into the past, but he failed as the White Walkers still marched on the wall. However, he makes another trip further back into the past to try and end the White Walkers once and for all. In the vision Bran had of the first man who was tied up, he was looking at himself. Bran warned the children not to create the White Walkers when he went back, but because they were at war, they must have thought he was lying, so they tied him to the tree and took advantage of the fact he had green sight and working abilities. And instead of creating a White Walker, they created a much powerful being, the Night King himself. From this point on, Bran became the Night King. He gripped the vines while in the vision because he had connected with himself in a paradox-like fashion and briefly experienced the same pain he had before. They did not heed Bran's warning and discovered over time he was telling the truth about the White Walkers and what would become. So instead, they hid from the Night King, Bran, and waited thousands upon thousands of years for our Bran to be reborn and fix their mess. Thus taking us back to the cave where Bran had another vision that allowed the Night King to grab his arm. The Night King was able to see him. Doesn't that bring up a question? Now let's go to the vision with the tied up man without an identity. The thought that he would scream, "No, no, no, no," doesn't raise any questions. Who wouldn't scream at a sharp object that's about to be plunged into their chest? Now let's go to the vision with a tied up man without an identity. The thought that he would scream, "No, no, no, no," doesn't raise any questions. Who wouldn't scream at a sharp object that's about to be plunged into their chest? However, what you don't know, it wasn't at the dragon glass. It was at Bran. Before you say it's not possible, ask yourself the question, how did the Night King see Bran? Green sight. How can the Night King raise the dead? Warging abilities. When Bran was speaking with the children of the forest, she told him they had to protect themselves. He asked, from who? She said, you. Then the first men. She was referring to the Bran in the vision, the one who they thought was out to get them, but was merely trying to warn them of their own future. It is Bran. How do we kill the Night King? Kill Bran. The children of the forest knew Bran Stark. They had been waiting to fix their mistake for millennia. The Night King marked Bran. Then he passed the wall, ultimately failing once again. The magic that protected the wall was broke once Bran crossed with the Night King's mark, allowing the new ice dragon to burn it down. Again, how do we kill the Night King? Kill Bran. Do we really want to kill the Night King or Bran? Well, I guess we'll find out. But you'll catch my next theory on my next video.